Good evening. The reason you saw that bit of fakey film there to start off the show, it was sort of a parody of a news show. The reason was I'm sick and tired of ordinary news shows, and this one is my thing. I have with me Russell Connor. What are you doing here, Russ?
Good evening, Chet, David.
David.
No, I'm here because the management, frankly, is a little disturbed at the direction that some of your shows have been taking, and there's a new ruling that someone over 30 has to be present on the set, and that's why I'm here.
Okay, well, I'll handle you. Don't worry. We can manage. This week, something happened. Eartha Kitt made a big statement in the White House. It's funny how black people who make bad statements or what the public thinks are bad statements are immediately given publicity. But there are some positive black people around, and we talk to them, and Eartha Kitt's one of them, incidentally. The man I talked to was Bill Cosby, and I talked to him about Eartha Kitt. Bill Cosby is a really sweet guy, and I enjoyed talking to him. He's sincere, he knows what he thinks. He's a man who's made it in the white superstructure, but nevertheless still wants to do it.
She is the kind of woman that will say what she means and what she feels. Eartha works with those children in Watts. She knows how they feel. And it was on her mind. I do imagine so, on her mind, because she's right down there with those kids, teaching them to dance, giving them lessons in acting, so forth and so on. You should see that class, by the way, and the whole building that she's working with. And, you know, when you try to teach kids and get them to educate themselves, then you really find out the problems. The problems that, for instance, like the mother and the father don't particularly even care to lift a hand to help the kid because they feel that nothing is really going to come about. It's all just a bunch of, it's a crock. That's all. So why are you teaching them to do something and getting their hopes up for something when later on when they go to get a job, somebody's going to say, no, you can't because, you know, you're black. So the parents don't want the kids to work for it. And as a result of this, many black kids listening to people in the streets, listening to their parents who say that this is not our country, you know, why are we pressing ourselves on the white man, feel, well, we shouldn't even be out there fighting. You know, an awful lot of kids are put down because they go into the service or they join the service. And when they come back home, there are many soldiers, black soldiers that have been fighting in Vietnam, putting their lives on the line. When they come home, you know, like it isn't the old welcome like World War II or whatever. Hey, man, Charlie's back. You know, like people say, okay, so you're back, so what? You know, there's an awful lot of turmoil going on. And this is probably what's in Eartha's heart and the problems that happen to be hanging on her mind. Now, you have Lady Bird Johnson and the rest of these wives down there that live very well and do very well, and I'm not trying to take that away from them, but I'm hip that this little whatever they gave Lady Bird Johnson to do was more like a little mud pie meeting to give the wives something to do so that they don't drink too much in the afternoon, you see. And they want to talk about putting flowers out on the highway and things like that. Well, that wasn't what was on Eartha's mind. I'm hip that she must have listened and got very tired of the women talking about little mud pies and things and stood up and said what she said.
Good guy, I like him. The Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was also in town, and I was lucky enough to meet him too. He arrived at Logan Airport in Boston, and I was along there with a lot of other savages trying to talk to him. The amazing thing about the Maharishi, a man who's derided by the press, is that he's the only one who manages to remain calm and sane amidst a load of absolute lunatic reporters and people like me who are trying to push things onto him. We nearly knocked a table into his face as soon as he walked into the VIP room. This is typical. The man is serene, he's calm, and he's pushing a message so terrible of peace and love and sanity. So terrible, so bad that he should be doing this. There he is. And there am I, trying to talk to him.
I'm glad to see Gabby Hayes is working again.
It was not Gabby Hayes, it was the Maharishi, but nevertheless. Bob Dylan's new album has come out, I think it was last week, John Wesley Harding. You can hear it now. It's a very strange thing because some people have expressed wonder at the fact that Dylan's style has reverted to what it was before he went into his Baroque, expressionistic, electronic sound. But it isn't really so unusual. Artists have been reversing their own trends for years and years and years. One of them who did this a long time ago, or half a century ago, was the poet W.B. Yeats. And I think a poem he wrote called A Coat is kind of appropriate for Dylan's new reversal in trend. The poem is, I made my song a coat covered with embroideries. out of old mythologies from heel to throat. But the fools caught it, wore it in the world's eyes as though they'd wrought it. Song, let them take it, for there's more enterprise in walking naked. I think that was a nice, appropriate parallel for Bob Dylan. I hope you agree with me.
An Irish poet who I'm glad to see that you're...
Yeah. There are no Irish painters, but plenty of Irish poets.
We tend to talk a lot and write a lot.
Okay, well, next we have for you what we're calling the apartment of the week. Now, a lot of funny things are talked about apartments in this particular city, Boston. Apartments are bad, usually. If you're a student, you have to go to really bad ones. But we found one that was really bad. It was terrible. It was falling to pieces. Here it is. You can have a look at some film that we took all around the house. We walked all the way around it. There's a dog. It's a dog sleeping. He didn't like the house too much, so he slept on the car.
Is that the kind of incisive comment you make behind
That's
the film?
my bit of perception
dog,
for the night, yeah.
To help the people through the...
That's a 62 Chevy. Horns!
That's in Somerville?
That's in Somerville, yeah. That's in Somerville. As you can see, this apartment building is not exactly the best. If you're a hippie in Cambridge who's being busted, go and live in Somerville, in that place. Or if you're just plain poor, I suppose, go and live in it too. That could have had, I suppose, a kind of grandeur at one time. Here's graffiti.
Yes, well, it isn't very often that you get a chance to see a work by graffiti on this scale. I knew Senior Graffiti when he first came to this country from Italy, and for a while he was working with Oriental calligraphy, and then he shifted back to Western tradition. Rita, of course, his obsession with Rita and with Fats. It's a curious thing.
Fats period, isn't it?
Someone's working on a doctorate at Harvard trying to figure out what Fats is doing there, but it's... You'll never see the like, probably, of Marcello graffiti again in the art world. These things are mysterious, and they're evocative and poetic, and the thing is that he's so prolific. You know, he just doesn't care where he works.
Did you know that Boston has been rated the second most expensive city in the United States by the National Consumers Council? I don't know what the first is. It's certainly the most expensive as far as groceries goes. But we support and applaud a man from Saldus who's done this. When it comes on, it's not coming on. Anyway, it's a thing saying miniskirts cleaned half price. There it is. What about that?
Some kind of a noble gesture there, I think.
Thank you, yes.
It is indeed. There's our desk, or there's somebody else. The worst record. I've just been told by my bearded floor manager we must go to the worst record of the week, or our fifth worst record of the week. What is it, man? She's not there. I know what it is. What's the fifth worst record of the week? They're not working for me.
This is Mr. Silver's worst pop record number 5 of the bottom 10. Susan!
Like I'm losing. I love you, yes I do, I do. I love you, yes I do, I do. I love you, yes
I do. Get rid of the record.
Dancers must have been brought at great expense.
Oh yeah, we spare no expense on this show. None at all. In fact, we sent one reporter out into the field this week, believe it or not. We actually left the studio.
I've seen some of your reporters, and I think they should be out in the field, yes.
Here's one. She's Mrs. Joyce Harrington, who went, believe it or not, for an in-depth interview with Harry the Greek.
Harrington at Harry the Greek's, and this is Harry the Greek. Tikanis. Harry, what's the buy of the week?
Well, we got a beautiful silver raincoat for you.
Could I see it?
Step right this way.
Okay.
Well, this $100 raincoat, we're going to give it to you for $10 because we're known for our value.
There. Oh, that's magnificent. Beautiful. We go so well together.
You better believe it.
Where's the fur coats?
I got a beautiful
Oh, you're going
fur
to take
coat
this
for you.
off first, huh? One at a time?
Well, you can't put the fur coat over the raincoat.
No? Okay. Maybe I ought to do that. Yeah. Good. Could I see the fur coat?
The leopard. Where's the
Ah,
leopard?
where's the leopard? Oh,
The leopard. I got a beautiful fur coat for you. Here's a beauty.
oh, isn't that great?
Try this
Really great. Oh, look at the sleeves. How much is this, Harry?
$10. Why, $10?
Oh, great buy.
Beautiful.
What other coats do you have?
Well, I got a nice mink coat for you.
What about this raccoon?
A raccoon?
Oh, look at that.
Well, I'll give you a nice
Oh,
raccoon.
can you put that on? Yeah.
Would you like
Put
me
it
to
on,
try
yeah.
it on?
Why don't you put that on and we can go out together? Oh, magnificent. Oh.
Step aside.
Come on out this way. Let's come together. That is just
Well,
great.
let's have a little. This coat just about fits me, don't you think?
I don't know. A little too short, right?
A little too short. Well, we'll give you a little model with it. How's that?
That's Polikola.
Pulikala.
This is Joyce Harrington from Harry the Greeks, and now back to David Silver.
What is the time? Love?
Time in Belgrade, Yugoslavia, 4:45 a.m.
Okay. I have a bit of thing here to read you. It says, UN asks LSD ban. Geneva, the United Nations Commission on Narcotics, today issued an appeal for a worldwide ban against LSD. The 24-nation commission adopted a resolution saying abuse of LSD is increasing and harming more and more young people. For God's sake, there's a lot going on in North Korea. What the hell are they doing talking about narcotics, LSD, when there's so much more to be doing? We're paying money to the UN, remember that. I think we are, I hope. But I'm getting angry about that. Why bother about LSD? Is it that dangerous? It's that dangerous, is it? The cameramen think it's dangerous. They're all straight tonight. They're all straight tonight. Anyway, I, in the mad rush of youth, went to a head shop this week for another in-depth interview. And the head shops, as you know, are legal, and there are plenty of them. This is 110 Charles Street, Boston, and I'm in a head shop. And I want to know a few things about it. Jeff, give me a rundown on what you sell here.
We sell pipes, papers, posters, all kind of optical freak-out goodies.
I'd like to see your stone pipes down here.
Oh, sure.
Look at one of these.
We have all different types. This is an alabaster stone here. You can see that.
What can you smoke in there?
You can smoke hash, grass, pot, marijuana, whatever you want to call it.
This is another stone one.
This is another stone, yes, on a leather thong, which you can wear around your neck as a good luck piece, and
That's only 15 cents?
$15.
$15. What about this big one here? Where did this come from?
This comes from India. It's a water pipe. It's quite large. This is a flexible stem. That's what comes out. Has a very large bowl on it. Holds quite a lot of water. It's quite easy to draw from, and it's very effective.
How much does it cost?
$32.
$32.
That's the most expensive item in the store here.
Would you sell many of those, do you think?
Oh yes, I've sold, the last month I've sold 7 of these.
We've got some eyes there, mobile eyes. What about the books and the comic books? Why do you think comic books go so well?
Because they're so much fun, they're not serious. Do you think that you can read those comic books straight and still appreciate them? Oh, sure, they're fun to read. All the incredible things these superheroes can do. They're amazing. What about the other books? We have Ramparts, Image, Inner Space, Broadside, Avatar, certainly, Gorilla, coloring books, Neo-American Church catechisms, hash cookbooks. You haven't got William Buckley's National Review there, I see. No. That's the one. maybe, and some records here. Usually. Butterfield Blues Band, Donovan, Ravi Shankar, Stones, the Beatles. What's it like to work in a headshot, Jeff, really? Oh, it's really a lot of fun. You sit behind the counter and so many trips come to you and you just watch them go by, and then you really direct the mood and the atmosphere in the store, and it's kind of fun because it's almost a godlike thing. You can make the store happy or sad, whatever, and it's kind of fun to get people smiling. That's really what life's all about. Is that why you're doing it? Sure. And do you do a lot of business? Oh, yeah. Tell me, are you in any way harassed? Or harassed, as I should put it? We're watched. What do you mean? Well, they're interested in, I suppose, who comes and goes, certainly. What we do. By the very nature of the shop, they don't like it that much. What's in here? This is the black light room, where all our black light posters are kept. Okay. Let's go and have a look. What is the real meaning of psychedelic, Jeff, if you had to? Oh, tell me. For me, anyway, the real meaning of psychedelic has to do with the five senses: sight, hearing, smelling, tasting, and feeling. We sell articles in the store relating to all the senses, except for taste. We have Very View and other optical freakouts, posters, all of which work on vision. Pipes and so forth all work off feel and taste. Your records are your audio. Incense is your smell. And that's pretty much what psychedelics is all about, is awareness of things, of everything. Do you think what do you think is the future of this? Oh, no idea. There is a future there. Oh, surely.
The photography you have on this show is
yeah, it's
really.
What's number 4 on the worst pop silver hit parade?
This is Mr. Silver's worst pop record, number 4 of the bottom 10. Some Velvet Morning.
Dragonflies and daffodils learn from us very much. Look at us, but do not touch.
We had enough of that one.
No,
that was by Nancy Sinatra. Well, I
don't even like those kids anymore.
No, I don't like it. But I say by Nancy Sinatra, it's not really by Nancy Sinatra because she's got false hair, false nose, she had her cheekbones shaved, and she's got false boobs.
I don't think
How false can you get?
No.
It was really Helen Higgins, folks.
No,
it really was. No?
Nancy needs a break.
She needs a break.
Everything's gone against her in life, and I think you ought to be a little more gentle.
Okay, Russ. Okay.
Just trying to break through in the big time.
All right. I won't say anything else about Helen Higgins, Nancy Sinatra. Now, on to serious things. We have Professor Howard Zinn now, who's got a guest editorial.
To nominate for Woman of the Year Eartha Kitt, and for Man of the Year Dr. Benjamin Spock, because both refused to play the game. The game is be courteous, law-abiding, obedient, never raise your voice, even in the midst of hypocrisy. The game is be willing to die or send your sons to die whenever the #1 leader of the nation says so and whether the cause is just or unjust. Eartha Kitt refused to play. She spoke her mind. She said the government is snatching young men from their families to fight in a war that no one has been able to explain or justify. And indeed, how can we justify giant, powerful America bombarding every day the peasants of a small Asian country to force them to accept a corrupt and cruel government which they themselves are unwilling to fight for. When Eartha Kitt spoke out, Lady Bird Johnson was crying a little. I think it was good that she was moved. Perhaps she will move LBJ. She is a charming and gracious woman who loves beauty, but I think she's been sheltered from the ugliness that emanates from the White House. And LBJ, he loves his children and his grandchildren, but I wonder how much he loves the children and grandchildren of Vietnam. The other day I saw on film a little North Vietnamese boy who was lying, whimpering, crying, while doctors removed from his body, one by one, the pellets from an anti-personnel bomb that had been dropped by American planes. And every day we drop such bombs on North and South Vietnam, bombs designed not for steel bridges, but for human flesh. How can we justify this? Only by lying to ourselves, or by having our leaders lie to us. And they have. LBJ lied to us July 13th, 1965, when he said he hadn't any indication the other side was willing to negotiate, when he knew of 3 distinct offers, one in the summer of '64, one in the fall of '64, one in the beginning of 1965. He's lied to us about the recent elections in South Vietnam, which were rigged with American connivance to make sure that the military men won and that anti-war candidates would not win. We become fanatic about the word communism. And this is part of the game. It's the game that nations have played all through history, of people killing one another every 10 or 20 years because the men in power tell us that the Catholics or the Huns or the Jews or the communists are about to take over the world. And I think the game will go on, and our children and our grandchildren will suffer from it unless we do like Eartha Kitt and break through the hypocritical silence, until we do like Dr. Spock and say it is right to refuse to fight in an unjust war. I don't want to play that game. Our country was founded on a basic democratic principle which is far more sacred than the Selective Service Act or the Book of Table Manners. The principle that many of us have forgotten but that Jefferson put into the Declaration of Independence. And this is that government and laws are not sacred, that they are set up for certain ends, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, that when they destroy these ends, we have a right to disobey. And so I will say to everyone who can hear me, if your conscience tells you that it is wrong to cross the sea to make war on the people of Vietnam, and if you refuse to fight in this war, I support you, I admire you, as I admire Miss Eartha Kitt, as I admire Dr. Benjamin Spock, and all those other people who refuse to play the game of silence in the midst of murder.
Thank you, Professor Zinn. I agree with every word you said. Here's my youthful rash move of the week.
Joe, you've put these things up here.
Yes.
Do you do that a lot?
No, well, at times, you know, I usually work on another section, but, you know, on busy days like today and Saturday, they put me on this stuff, work on it, you know.
Do you get a great sense of pride having managed to do that without knocking them over?
Sure, I feel good.
You do. Now, you know I'm going to knock these over now.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Bad.
Bad?
All my work that I did.
Well, I'm going to do it now. This second, okay? How do you feel about that?
Bad, awful.
You really feel... No, how bad?
Really, you ruined my work.
But it was a really... All right, what about this one? Oh, no! What about that?
In this wicked world.
Did that make you feel good that I'd finally done the whole lot? No?
Makes me feel awful. Look what I gotta do now.
Oh, not really. Come on. I'll help you, right?
Oh, that's all right.
It's okay. What was now? If you had an impulse to do something like that, what would you do?
What would I do?
Yeah.
Knock down the whole store.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we've got to put
And we all know that he said, people back for hours, surely come again.
Notice this large member of the, excuse me, pachyderm class. This is a piece of found art, our treasure of the week, and we found it at Tufts University, believe it or not. Who found it, I think, on a track about 100 years ago when it had been knocked over by a train. Look at the fake consternation there, but really, isn't it a bit weird? that anywhere should have an elephant or a goat or anything else as a mascot. What do we need these things for? But it's very beautiful. Do you think that's art, Russell?
No, I wouldn't call that art. I'd call it jumbo, actually, if I had to call it anything.
I think that's what they call it. Okay. We have the word billion thrown at us every single day of the week, and do we really know what it means? I don't think we do. And I don't like this because I don't really know the truth, because billion is a word I should know about. Now, if you were born in 1900 and were given $1 billion and $10,000 a day to spend, this is what would happen. Multiply by 365, and you get a figure which will come on in a second. This is just to show you what a billion means. We have no conception. It comes to 3 million, more than that. 3 million, just that, $3,650,000. Multiply by 68, which is your age at present, and you'll find out how much you have earned so far. Remember, this is all theoretical. $248,200,000.
How much you earned or how much you spent?
Spent, that is, how much you spent. Now, if you take that, that's right. I can't do anything with numbers. Anyway, there's the full figure. If you take 248,200,000 from that, you come up with what you would have left. And it comes to 751,800,000.
It almost makes you stop and think.
It's a bad deal, that. I don't like this business. The reason we put it on was because the whole billion thing worries me. We're being brainwashed in one way because we just don't understand the word billion. Now into something else, Mr. Don Fauser on the radical right.
Left grabbed headlines last year with riots, sit-ins, marches, sit-ups and sit-downs, and lie-ins. There are some names on the right that you might be interested in. One of them, Patrick J. Frawley, Jr., head of Scheck, Eversharp, and Technicolor Enterprises. Frawley emerged as the single biggest contributor to conservative causes in this country. George Lincoln Rockwell, self-styled Führer of the American Nazi Party, assassinated. Chairman L. Mendel Rivers of the House Armed Services Committee, who defended the Birchers when they were first attacked, appeared on the forum of Clarence Mannion, Birch Council member. Alan Zoll, one of the old-time U.S. bigots, was back in action, this time at Liberty Lobby in Washington, D.C. Old-time movie actor Walter Brennan appeared on a Birch Society radio show attacking the war on poverty. The biggest relatively new name during 1967 was Reverend Daniel Lyons, a Catholic priest on leave from Gonzaga, and guess who gave him the money to get started? Patrick J. Frawley, Jr. And don't believe everything you read about what happened in 1967. Several national stories indicated the Birch Society was falling apart. It's not. Number one, last summer's New England rally for family and country was a success. Number two, the Birch Society stepped up its drive to win in Vietnam or get out. Mass petitions got 675,000 names to congressmen in Washington. Third, the Birch Society set up fronts like TAC, Truth About Civil Turmoil, which have been very successful. TAC declares that the civil rights movement is communistic and is sponsoring a big campaign to support your local police. The Birch's most recent campaign is against the war on poverty. Little-known facts about the right. Moral Rearmament acquired the decommissioned Fort Slocum property from the city of New Rochelle, New York. And Protestant ministers on the right did pretty well last year also. Reverend Billy James Hargis dedicated a new $500,000 cathedral headquarters of his Christian crusade in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Then he announced the purchase of the adjoining land, price $155,000. Reverend Hargis is world-winding it around the country. Will be in Boston January 29 at a 7:30 p.m. supper at the Statler Hilton, if you'd like to go. Reverend C.W. Burpo, who ran afoul of zoning law in his Bible Institute in Mesa, Arizona, announced he would build a new structure, appealed for $40,000. If the past is any indication, he'll get it. Reverend Carl McIntyre purchased another hotel for $500,000 at his Cape May, New Jersey real estate complex. McIntyre heads the 20th Century Reformation Hour and Christian Beacon programs. And positively the latest in the radical right groups or any other was an organization founded by William Buckley Jr., the Attentive Buckley's group, to horsewhip Drew Pearson.
Any comments on that, Russ?
No, I'm terribly saddened about Walter Brennan. Can you imagine? Did you see him in The Westerner as Judge Roy Bean? And now he's with the John Birch Society. awful.
Is that different?
No, I don't know. It's just almost, I did want to bring to your attention, David.
Oh, why? What?
Some magazines that I've uncovered in dentist offices lately. And I think they're the kind of thing that people don't generally get to see, and I think we have public service here. How to invest in Angola.
The man is telling you to move it.
To move it? Oh, move,
yeah.
yes. Well, this is a sort of opportunity that people don't think about ordinarily. In Angola, it's very important to jump in now while you can, while there still is an Angola. There's sandbags are going very big there now. Linton Seed Marketing Board from the United Republic of Tanzania is very big. They have the fold out in the middle is a killer.
It's a gas.
There's one here on hints to cocoa farmers. It's in English and Ashanti. It's put out by Guinea Press in Ghana. And here there's, for example, there's he who adulterates or permits or causes... No, see, that's the kind of book they are.
I've got a couple here. This one is the Tropical Products Institute, the Market for Castor Oil in the United Kingdom. That's put out by the Ministry of Overseas Development, if you're interested. And this one is dear to my heart for all you people out there who are really interested in this kind of crap. Here is West Point, a way of life. I'm sure you must want that. Now, talking about doctors, which we weren't, I couldn't help this week but phone up a reputable Boston doctor and ask him just what possible disease Ben Gazzara can have in run-for-your life. I mean, let's face it, the guy's been running for so long. What can he have that can keep him going, jumping off cliffs, knocking out 4 hoods in the back of a car? I don't know. The answer I got was that he must have either a stupid doctor to tell him that he's only got a year to live, or he's got some kind of nephritis, which is pretty bad. But what do you think about that, Russ?
Well, I don't agree. I think there's this very strong hint in the title of the show. He's got the runs, is what it is.
Okay, let's move on. We got a bit here for president, a man who's running for president. Here he is.
Candidate for the office of President of the United States, I make these solemn pledges. I will end the Vietnam War in 72 hours, and upon being elected, I will immediately, without any hesitation, employing the proper safeguards, withdraw the American Army from the shores of Vietnam. I will eliminate the draft. America will export $30 billion in foreign aid yearly without any cost to the American taxpayer, and the profit from this program will pay off the national debt in 10 years. I will resolve the racial problem to the satisfaction of all America. I will eliminate legal prostitution in the federal courts. All lawyers' conduct, ethics, and fees will be rigidly controlled. I will absolutely and without question eliminate organized crime in 30 days. I will eliminate political prostitution in Congress. Retired American couples will receive $300 minimum monthly pensions without any cost to the American taxpayer. Federal taxes will be cut in half by eliminating fraudulent tax benefits for the chosen few. I will eliminate inflation and reorganize the entire banking system. I will arrest and bring to trial all conspirators now in high government position who participated in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I will restore the Constitution and the free enterprise system to the people of the United States. I will organize a 3-year food reserve so that this nation could absolutely survive any atomic war. I will completely reorganize and re-equip and retrain the ground forces of the American Army, making them 1,000% more efficient so that anotherable miserable showing, as has been shown in Vietnam, will never happen again to an American army. I will eliminate communist infiltration in our government and in the rocket program, and every American family under my program will be well-fed, well-clothed, and well-housed.
Oh, that was Jacob Gordon, Democratic candidate for presidency from Worcester, Massachusetts. The first thing he's going to do is ban diet pills. Now for the time. What is the time?
The time in Herculon, Crete is 6 a.m.
Okay. Russ, have you heard any more from the candidates recently?
Yes, I've been keeping in touch with campaign headquarters of the various candidates, David, and I'm happy to contribute tonight to some of the new slogans that have begun to emerge for the campaign.
Okay, let's have them.
LBJ is putting a lot of confidence in this one. Don't change horses in mid-swamp. Reagan, of course, is attacking vigorously the problem of youth and overpopulation and hippies, and he's got something here called Make Birth Control Retroactive. It's 1935, I think, is the date he had in mind.
Okay.
Romney, hitting heavily on the morality issue, comes up with this. A washed brain means a clean mind.
Who was that again?
Romney.
Romney.
George
Romney.
He's
Must
from
remember
the Midwest.
Okay.
Nixon, of course, it's time to make up with Nixon. They hope that's going to carry them a long way. And a man for all seesaws. It sort of demonstrates his diplomatic...
Right.
Yes. Wallace, they're building him up as the White Peril. And he's coming on strong with this one. Venture spleen with me and Lurleen. Now I turn you back to David.
Okay.
You.
I have just got a message handed in to me from Spencer, Indiana, on the AP. Harold Macmillan, former Prime Minister of Great Britain, returns today to visit the birthplace of his mother for the third time.
Everybody gets junk mail. Now, the way you get junk mail is just get on someone's list. The way to get on someone's list is subscribe to something. They get your name. They use the name, they sell it to mailing services, who in turn sell to other prospective sellers of different periodicals and, well, you name it. You get on someone's list, there's nothing you can do. They've done you forever. I decided to do something about it, and the thing to do is send them something back. I mean, they've gone through a lot of trouble to send out nice brochures explaining what wonderful services, magazines, etc. they can provide. Why not return the compliment? Why not give them something for their troubles? And so I do. I save little tin cans, juice cans, soup cans, and if they're properly flattened, you can insert them into the envelopes, and you can mail it back sort of in a form of, well, they've given you something, you give them something in return. You know? One hand washes the other. The good ones are the airmail envelopes. These, they usually come large for some reason, and you can stuff 2-3 pounds worth of metal into these, no sweat. Now, here's just to give you an idea why the big envelopes are better. You can really stuff these things. Usually really stuff them. And so the package is a little large, well, that's no problem. Little tape takes care of it all. And, well, this is one thing. You think after a while they get the message. Some of them do. I don't get much junk mail from some areas, but others, they never stop. You never learn. Undoubtedly, if there isn't a law against this sort of thing, what I'm doing, there will be. But that's neither here nor there. Everybody benefits, least of all the post office, because they collect who knows how much due on air mail. I got one off to Honolulu once. Boy, I must have got 3 pounds in on that one. That was...
That was Bill Desmond, our special reporter. Don't worry about it if they send you postcards. Bill says just simply tie a brick to the postcard. What is the worst or third worst pop record of the week? Come forward.
The worst pop record, number 3 of the bottom 10, is To Give.
To give.
Oh, she dropped record bits all over me. I'm getting really fed up with this. Okay. Look, come here. Come here. I want to talk to you. Nearer. Quick, quick. That's nice. Good. I want to talk to a special group of fellas out there. You know who I'm talking about, because these are the guys who stole about $120,000 from the Harvard Trust a few weeks ago. Now, I know you're watching because I know the kind of people that watch this show. But I want to talk to you. What did you do? You dressed up in Brinks uniform, got into a Brinks van that was meant to be delivering money to Polaroid, and went down to the Harvard Trust. Okay, that was very clever. But isn't it terrible not being able to tell anybody at all? And isn't it terrible just having the money and not being able to spend it? Wouldn't the really cool thing to do, wouldn't it be to dress up in the Brinks uniforms again, to get into the Brinks van, and to deliver the stuff to Polaroid 10 minutes before the real van comes and stand around while the real people are arrested? It was just an idea. It'll probably get me in great trouble. Russ?
No, I think the pictures that'll be taken of them would be very good quality, too, at Polaroid.
They would indeed. They would indeed.
Yes.
Oh, Russ, it's your turn. It's your turn.
What am I doing?
Can you tell me about art in the city?
Art in the city. Well, it's interesting that you should ask me that, David. The latest flash, here we are at 180 Beacon Street. And it's a remarkable apartment house owned by Mr. and Mrs. Max Wasserman. And they have filled it throughout the lobbies and the corridors with some of the best modern art that can be seen in the area. The selection was
What's
made,
that?
That's modern sculpture.
I thought the electricity had gone wrong in the apartment. Oh, that's nice. What's that?
That's by Larry Rivers, I think. It's hard to tell from here. There's a tingly sculpture. But just think, David, what it would be like if you lived here and you came home to this every night. There's a painting called The Opening. In the old days, it would have been a painting of the Medici or the donors. There's Mr. Wasserman himself in the midst of the glittering New York art scene.
Fine guy, fine guy. You know, I live in a Wasserman.
Yeah, he's your landlord.
Yeah, he is. There's nothing but washing machines and smells in mine. What's the difference?
That's an elevator there, and this is what you see when you come off the elevator.
Oh, beautiful.
Some people have been known to go right back in again. There is a vegetable garden that greets you there, an abstract vegetable garden of some kind of plastic.
Thank you very Russ. Thank you very Russ for matching that thing there. Thank you very much. Worst song number 2 on the Silver West Hit Parade. Come forward quickly and don't break the record of my head.
This is Mr. Silver's worst pop record, number 2 of the bottom 10.
Okay.
Am I that easy to forget?
Oh, quite right.
They say you found somebody new, but that won't stop my loving you. I just can't let you walk away. Forget the love I had for you. Guess I could find somebody new, but I don't want no one but you. How can you leave with...
Let's move on to something a bit better. I have with me tonight, on my left I have Mr. Lee Lockwood, who has been in North Vietnam for photographing. And he's been, in fact, this week to review the film Inside North Vietnam by Felix Green. What did you think of it?
Well, Felix Green's film Inside North Vietnam is a documentary in color about the North Vietnamese people. And it shows, essentially, their life under the United States bombardment of that country. The color photography is excellent. especially considering the conditions under which Green worked. He was there 3.5 months, and he photographed everything by himself, ran the sound, and produced the film under very trying conditions, often in action. The film shows a North Vietnam that is not the highly industrialized country that our government perhaps would like to have us believe, but mainly an agricultural, rural country with a primarily peasant population. What comes across is a great sense of the land and of a suffering people who live heroically and surprisingly tranquilly under the incessant bombing by the American airplanes. Also, what I found particularly moving was the patience with which the North Vietnamese go about repairing the roads, usually by hand, often with large boulders to fill the gaping bomb holes, and the transportation of the material and ammunition by long convoys of trucks and even bicycles, which can carry up to about 400 pounds of transport, which are wheeled along by women, boys, and girls, and old men. Unfortunately, the film is also larded with some heavy-handed editorial comment about the crimes of Yankee imperialism, which those who oppose the war might agree with, but which is not especially calculated to change the minds of those who are hawks or even on the fence. Those, in other words, who presumably are the one audience that this film should reach. There also wasn't much of a sense of conflict anywhere, that is, conflict amongst the people. Surely the North Vietnamese are shown as a truly united people, but unity has its limits. And this was a rather blissful presentation of North Vietnamese society, quite uncomplicated. You might have seen the NET journal the other night, which presented a 45-minute version, that is roughly half of the original film, also in color, followed by a very stimulating discussion between David Schoenbrunn, who's an American correspondent who was recently in North Vietnam, and Professor Robert Scalapino of the University of California, who is well known these days as a Johnsonian intellectual. Scalapino, who was a kind of Dean Rusk in academic robes, made the point that the film is superficial because it doesn't mention the word communism or the fact that North Vietnam is a communist country anywhere in this 45-minute revised length. Now, I agree with Scalapino, but not for his reasons. I think that to be effective, Green ought to have touched all the bases just to allay the suspicions of those who might have come into a theater or have turned on the television with a chip on their shoulders and suspicion in their minds about how this fellow got into North Vietnam in the first place. He should have given some sense of the regimentation of North Vietnamese society and of their great efforts on behalf of their brothers in South Vietnam. That is to say, they are at war, and he doesn't, not only against the American airplanes, but they are helping those in the South. Those convoys of trucks, after all, are taking ammunition and supplies down south to the NLF and to the North Vietnamese troops in South Vietnam. All this to the contrary notwithstanding, I think that in general the film is quite objective, especially as shown on NET. Mr. Scalapino also said that Felix Green's film was a perfect propaganda weapon for the North Vietnamese, and he made a great deal out of this point. I agree with this too, but I'd like to say that I was in North Vietnam myself, and I spent 4 weeks, as a matter of fact, the same time that Felix Green was there. I traveled about 1,000 miles in that time, and I think it would be practically impossible for any objective journalist to make a documentary film about life in North Vietnam that would not be a propaganda film for the North Vietnamese. Terrible continuous bombardment, including the deliberate bombing of civilian areas, the use of anti-personnel pellet bombs, together with the courage and the patience and ultimately the heroism of the North Vietnamese people, all of which I witnessed personally, are impossible to avoid because they are everywhere to be seen. Facts themselves are eloquent, at once persuasive and poignant. All commentary is superfluous. Felix Green's Inside North Vietnam tells us that we are waging a cruel, wasteful, and an unwinnable and melancholy war.
Thank you very much. I also have with me Mr. Arnie Reisman, who's a journalist from the Patriot Ledger, who went to see Dick Lester's new film, How I Won the War, which has John Lennon in it. What did you think of it, Arnie?
Well, David, I think Richard Lester is a very funny ego in need of a straitjacket. If his genuine creative energy isn't harnessed soon, he will find his audience as well as his reputation wandering lonely as a mushroom cloud. In his How I Won the War, he has dug foxholes of failure and inevitably has fallen into each one. Once again, what should have been a showcase of on-screen comic talent becomes a carte blanche of off-screen directorial whims. Once again, he ignores the differences between control and power, between ordered chaos and chaotic order, between visual burlesque and burlesque visualization. In A Hard Day's Night and The Knack, the characters inspired the photo gimmickry. In Help and A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, they were enslaved by it. In his latest effort, they are pulverized by it. Lester set out, or so he says, to make both a film against war and a film against war films. A black comedy designed to turn up mouth corners and turn over stomachs. He has done nothing of the sort. Instead, he has made throats dry and feet itchy. Lester is guilty of apostasy. He initiates a final war and then goes AWOL. He makes his point in the opening minutes of the film and then cinematically takes off for places unknown. In his noble attempt to de-glorify war, the filmmaker ignobly ends up glorifying the de-glorification, reveling in his revelations. People may leave the theater laughing, more likely yawning, but certainly not cringing. The horror, and often the humor, is buried in the layer cake style of this talking, running, jumping, standing still film. There are a few silent moments of green-tinted footage, followed later by purple frames of actual war. Written by Charles Wood, this is a crazy quilt of lunatic characters, cutting, puns, zany interplay, vaudevillian tactics, flash-forwards, and flashbacks. Some of it works, most of it doesn't.
Thank you, Arnie. I couldn't agree with you less. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic film, a film showing the extreme comedy and horror of war at the same time. But anyway, it's your opinion and my opinion. I think, are just about coming to the end. But one thing we must do before we end is show you the worst...
Please.
Oh, here she is. Here she is.
This is Mr. Silver's worst pop record, #1 of the bottom 10.
The most tasteless thing ever.
Skip a rope! Whoopee!
Skip a rope. Skip a rope. Oh, listen to the children while they play. Now ain't it kind of funny what the children say? Skip a rope. Daddy hates mommy, mommy hates dad. Last night you should have heard the fight they had. Gave little sister another bad dream. She woke us all up with a terrible scream. Skip a rope. Skip a rope. Oh, listen to the children while they play. Ain't kind of funny what the children say. Skip a rope. Cheat on your taxes, don't be a fool. Now what was that they said about a golden rule? Never mind the rules, just play to win. And hate your neighbor for the shade of his skin. Skip a rope. Skip a rope. Oh, listen to the children while they play. Now ain't kind of funny what the children say. Skip a rope. Stab 'em in the back, that's the name of the game. And mommy and daddy are who's to blame. Skip a rope.